Hi, and welcome back to this week's edition of Hawk Talk. I'm Colter Hickok.
I'm Mackenzie Groves.
And we've got kind of like a DSU celebrity on right now, so I'm kind of freaking out a little bit.
No.
Please introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what do you do here at DSU? Or what did you do here at DSU?
Yes, my name is Pierce J. Brooks. I'm an empowerment speaker and coach, and I am excited to be back in Dickinson. After 8 years, I graduated in 2013 and haven't been back, so it's great to be home.
How did you come to DSU? Like, what brought you here?
It's a great question. It was a long and winding road. I was a basketball player, and I got a scholarship to the University of San Francisco. My coach had gotten fired halfway through the season, so a new coach came in and said, Pierce, we're not going to have you back for the next season, and had to look for a new place. Got a scholarship at the University of New Orleans. BP oil spill happened that year, which defunded schools in the area, taking it from a Division I to a Division III. Lost that opportunity. Went to Texas A&M Kingsville. We had a losing season. Coach said, Pierce, we're not going to have you back. So I only had one season left, and Dickinson State just kind of embraced me. It was really the only option I had. So I wasn't looking forward to coming back or coming this way, but I loved it, and I found community here and people I love and people who care about me, and even many people who think differently than I do. So I gained so much by the experience of being here. So it wasn't what I chose, but it was definitely what I needed.
That's awesome.
Well, like you mentioned, you play basketball for the Hawks. Is there a specific memory or a favorite memory of yours that you had in Scott Gym?
Gosh, that's a great question. Favorite memory? I just loved just being on the court with my teammates. Those were always good times. I still keep in touch with several of my teammates and Coach Orton, of course. Coach Orton was the first coach who really just cared. I wasn't just an athlete to him. He really cared about my education and making sure I was doing right in class, and not just to get grades so that I was eligible, but to really excel and apply myself. And so the memories I have really are more off the court than on the court, and I think that's probably why Dickinson is so special to me, because all the places where I failed before were all just on the court disasters, and it wasn't about being a basketball player here.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think there's a lot of...
Are you an athlete?
I am, yes.
Oh, great. What do you play?
I run track here.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah.
I think that a lot of coaches at DSU are really focused on more as a person and excelling in school and what's going to get you further in life, than just focusing on you being an athlete. So
yeah. No, people just build relationships here. I mean,
yes.
Across teams, and I know all the other coaches as well, and so many professors. It's just a place that cares.
Yes. So you are an empowerment speaker.
Right.
What's the difference between that and like an inspirational speaker?
Yeah, there's not, I guess not so much between inspiration, but there is a difference between a motivational speaker, which sometimes I'm called that, but I view it, a motivational speaker is a rah-rah guy, and they're typically ones that they point the finger and I view it as shame-based. You need to do this, and you better change your life now. So I'm not that type of. I can do that, but that's not what motivates me to action. I don't think shame sustains people into changing their lives. My view as an empowerment speaker is I share my story of the rock bottom moments that I hit. I talk about vulnerable moments and how I kind of got through them, and share some of those stories. And I think it helps to plant a different seed in the mind. Instead of telling you what you should be doing, I'm telling you, what I did, or some things other people did that really shows how they can climb the ladder of themselves. I think I'm a storyteller also, so that's what's different about my approach than some of the motivational speakers.
Awesome.
Well, all right. So I was doing a little bit of a deep dive on your Instagram, and I see a lot of Prince, of Prince posts. So I got to ask you, just top of your head, rapid fire, what's the best Prince song of all time?
Oh, that's really tough. I don't. It's really so. I'm as you saw, I'm a huge Prince fan, and I've been one since I was a little kid. He was my dad's favorite artist, and it really just depends on the mood. But there's a song called "The Ladder," which is a spiritual song that many people would say like Purple Rain's his most spiritual song, but there's a song called "The Ladder" where he says, everybody's looking for the ladder, everybody wants salvation of their soul. The steps you take are no easy road, but the reward is great for those who want to go. That's the story of empowerment, that it's going to be tough, but it's worth confronting, and if you confront it, you'll find the reward, right? That idea is everything I incorporate into my business, the way I interact with people, that it's going to be tough, but let's just get through it and trust what's on the other side. So that's the one that just is always kind of top of mind and moves with me. But I mean, he's got thousands of songs. It's tough to say a favorite.
No, I totally agree with you on that one. I thought it was Let's Go Crazy.
Let's Go Crazy, okay.
Big fan of that one.
Yeah, nice.
So you have actually done a TED Talk before. I got to ask you, you were the first speaker ever, student speaker at a DSU commencement ceremony. Right. So what was more nerve-wracking, being the very first student speaker or talking in front of a TED Talk community?
Oh, you guys with the questions, man. Okay, I've done 2 TEDx talks now. Mm-hmm. I just finished my second one about a month ago. And what was more nerve-wracking? I would say you guys are going to think I'm lying, probably the DSU commencement speech, because it was the first thing like it up to that point. I hadn't done that before. And I didn't have any kind of formula for what I do when I speak. Now I kind of do. So, there's always anxiety and stuff in getting ready, just like a game. You even if you practice, you still have those feelings. But the DSU speech was, again, just me in front of a couple thousand people. That was, I hadn't done that before, so I remembered how nervous I was to do that. And that one, I had to have even though I knew it, I had to have my paper as a backup. TEDx talk, you don't, and a podium, right? Mm-hmm. TEDx talk, you don't have any of that stuff. It's all, from your head, but you just practice so much doing a TEDx that you know it like the back of your hand. So I still say DSU probably gave me more nerves.
So I was actually lucky enough to find your DSU commencement speech on Nate Easton's YouTube page.
Yes.
So you said it best. It's all about perspective.
Right.
So I just want to thank you for letting me watch that. So
of course,
it was a really good speech.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I guess Coulter and I were kind of just reading all your, you had a blog and other websites. Mm-hmm. All of them state you try to speak and find meaning and inspiration from trauma.
Yes.
Do you want to kind of elaborate on that? Would you say that's your base in all your speeches? Is that what got you started?
Absolutely. Yeah. Finding meaning in madness, I call it right now, and a lot of it was kind of sparked by the heels of COVID and the collective madness we all have right now. But I've just, like all of us, we've had personal madness in our lives, right? For me, it's talked about on the court. That was the losing so many scholarships. Off the court, it was tenuous moments I had with my father. My father committed suicide in 2008, which really shifted how my life was, and just so many times where I kept those feelings and those kind of earth-shaking moments just inside and didn't talk about them. And I found after speaking, after the experience at DSU, standing on that commencement stage, that when I share my story, when I talk about it, it's not only healing for me, but it's healing for some other people who maybe have gone through something similar. So I always view that for me personally, finding meaning in whatever craziness is going on is what helps to just move on and be hopeful about another day. If you just think that you just get this victim mentality that there's something wrong with me and the world's against me or the higher power's against me, I don't take any value from that. I think everything is working for my good, even if it's bad in the moment. We just have to find what that is. So that's just my approach, and that's what I try to instill in some of the clients that I work with.
Oh.
Wow. So you are a professional public speaker. Is there a specific moment in your life where you knew that this was the career path that you wanted to go on?
Again, it starts at DSU, getting that opportunity to speak, and I knew I loved it, but I didn't know how I could make it a profession at all. So I went into this thing called Toastmasters, which is a national, I think maybe even international organization for public speaking, and just began to kind of work on that muscle a bit. Got hired in some odd jobs, and then became a marketing director for some different companies. So as leading teams, you're always speaking, and when you're managing anybody, you're engaging in communication. So I always did it, but it was the TEDx talk, I think, that really showed me that, okay, I can do this thing I love, and still, make a living off of it. Because after that talk, so much momentum came where people were trying to hire me to speak, and companies hiring me to be a guest speaker. So it was within the last year and a half where that kind of was taken to another level.
That's exciting. I guess my question is, being an athlete,
Yeah.
what's some advice you would give, since you're a coach too, what advice would you give to college athletes?
I think that if you're only focused on the court or on the track, and that's the only, you do have to put in considerable focus to that because you want to do well and compete, but you're missing a lot of the college experience if that's all your focus. So finding ways to interact with people that aren't just on your team, that aren't just athletes. It's good to have that community, but there are so many rich perspectives that you can get with just quote unquote regular students. And the majority of the people you will deal with when you've graduated are people who maybe didn't compete, right? It's a club of people who are athletics, right? And people who've been a part of teams. But you have that leg up because you are a part of a team, and that's what a lot of corporations are looking for. However, you still have to be able to connect with people and work with people who think differently than you, who have different backgrounds and different experiences. So finding ways to not just be isolated in the club, but being a part of different communities at DSU or any university you're at.
Yeah, that is good advice, because coming from being an athlete, I would say I'm a senior now, and I feel like I've kind of broadened that where it's not so much focus, but my freshman and sophomore year, I spent majority of my time I can't do that because it'll affect my performance. I can't do that. Missing out on a lot of the college experience. So that is great advice, especially I think for freshman athletes.
Right.
Just learn how to.
And then you learn over time, just like you did. Freshman year, that's a rough year, just like first day of school, right? And then as you go on, you find yourself being more comfortable. And that's the great thing about DSU is you can't help but not interact with different people. Sure. Classrooms are smaller. You're hearing everybody's perspectives. It's a 30 people max in a class, so you're kind of forced to engage with different people. But just leaning into that a little bit more, I think, is only to your advantage.
Yeah.
So I do want to hear your answer on this. Why are scholarships so important at DSU, or just scholarships in general?
I just think because, it's always been rough for people to find a way to go to college and study, right? And so you have someone like myself. I couldn't have afforded to gone to a school like DSU or any of the schools I went to beforehand, and basketball carried that for me. So even though I had a rough experience with basketball, there's so many things I'm grateful for because it got me to DSU. And I don't know what I would have done if I didn't play basketball. And now it's only getting tougher for people to go to school and to feel like they're not going to have debt for the next 20 years in their lives. So just finding different ways and opportunities for people to get engaged in the education process, right? Especially for athletes. So many of them come from urban areas or lower income areas, and so scholarships are really the only way that they can have a chance.
Perfect.
For sure.
And Pierce, we ask this for every Hawk Talk guest. Yeah. What does DSU mean to you?
DSU to me means being seen. We're always fighting to kind of be understood and connect with people. And at DSU, you can't help but be seen. You're not lost in the crowd. Everybody who's a part of this community is somebody. In your class, you're going to have to participate. On your team, you're going to have to be vocal. You have no choice but to step up and grow. That was my experience, and you're seen for the person you are, not just the label you come in with, whether that be someone who's black or a basketball player or whatever. You're seen as just a person. So that's one thing DSU means to me that's, in my mind, very important.
Wow. I feel like that's the best answer we've
yeah,
ever
that
had.
was a really good answer. That's really true.
All the answers are part of DSU. It's much more than that.
So, Pierce, thank you very much for coming on. It's been actually a lot of fun. I feel like this is probably the best interview we've ever done.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
So where can people find you?
On all social media, piercejbrooks.com. Oh, sorry. My website is piercejbrooks.com. All social media is at piercejbrooks. So if you pop that in Google, you can pretty much find everything.
Well, Pierce, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kenzie and I will be right back right after this with another guest.
Here come your Bulldogs. Steps into the throw, in the wind, down to the goal line, and caught! Touchdown, Blue Hawks!
And we're back. As you can see, we got a brand new guest on, so please introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, what do you do here at DSU?
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Holder. I'm originally from Rhode Island. I've lived here for a few years, and I'm the band director and percussion instructor at DSU.
Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Rhode Island, that's a ways away. What brought you to DSU? Like, how'd you get here?
Well, I've lived in this part of the country for about 8 years now, and my wife's an elementary music teacher, and we moved out here for our jobs, basically.
Awesome. So, kind of doing some research on you. It looks like you teach mostly percussion. Is that correct?
That is.
So, is that like your favorite thing? Is that like what you've always done, or did you start out somewhere else and just kind of pick that? I guess. Like, how'd you get into percussion?
Yeah, I think I started playing the trumpet in 5th grade, and by about 7th grade, I decided to play the drums. Most of my friends were learning to play guitar at that time. I thought if I played the drums, then I could be in a band with them, and so I got kind of hooked on playing the drums and did that all through high school and college, and then studied to become a music teacher after that.
Awesome.
I used to be a percussionist, if you didn't know.
I did know that.
I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing all the variety of instruments that are involved in percussion, so it's actually a lot of fun.
Awesome.
I'm sorry I didn't do percussion at DSU. I just got really busy. So, also doing some research in on you, that we realized that you are also a teacher at Trinity. So how does it feel balancing your time between DSU and Trinity High School?
Well, it's tricky because I am busy pretty much the whole day. So I've worked at DSU like I might have said for 4 years now, and so that's all been in the evening. So so I work at Trinity during the day, and then come to DSU afterwards.
All right.
That does seem to get pretty busy, huh? Why did you choose teaching as your profession?
Well, both of my parents are teachers, so I think I was kind of doomed to become a teacher as well.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know how to word this. I guess like when you were picking up drums and percussion and stuff like that, did you, like you said, it was kind of instilled in you to be a teacher, so were you just like automatically on the path of becoming a music teacher, or did you kind of like play with some careers a little in teaching?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, when I was in high school, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher, and I was very involved with music, and I did kind of explore other areas of that. But by the time I got to be a freshman in college, I had settled on music education. Yeah.
Sweet.
So since you do teach college and high school, what are some of the differences and the similarities between the two?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. Well, as far as teaching music, we do lots of concerts for the public, and that's really consistent. It doesn't matter how old the student is. So the youngest grades I teach are 5th graders, so having a concert with the 5th graders in many ways is the same as a college student, that you're performing for an audience. So that aspect is very similar. And then otherwise, the way the classes are structured, of course, and communicating with parents and so forth, that becomes very different as you're going from younger to older students. So it's a very complicated question to answer, but there's quite a lot of small things that are different. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we do some fun questions on Hawk Talk. So my question for you is, if you could be do an open show with any musician, who would it be?
Oh, I don't know. That's really hard. Boy, I don't know. That is a really hard question to answer. I don't know.
I know.
It's too hard to pick. It's like I'm going through all these different options in my mind. It's just too hard to pick one. I don't know. That is a really hard question to answer. I think you kind of got me stumped on that one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You got any couple of options? Who's your favorite musician? Do you listen to somebody a lot? Do you like to play somebody's music a lot?
Well, yeah, I think something that comes to mind for me. There's a lady, Evelyn Glennie. She's a Scottish percussionist, and she's an artist who I look up to quite a bit. And that would be somebody that whose name would kind of pop into my head right away.
Okay, perfect. Sorry to stump you on that.
That's okay.
What about you, Kenzie?
I have no idea.
I think the percussionists that come in my mind are Don Henley from the Eagles and Phil Collins.
Okay.
Those would be two people that I could jam with, I feel like.
Nice.
Okay. So graduation is coming up here in a couple weeks. So what advice would you give to college graduates?
Oh, that's another tough question for me.
Maybe what advice did you wish you would have had graduating?
Graduate from college. Well, I think when you're graduating from college, you're usually looking for a job, and to just stay open to whatever options there are out there, and to keep an open mind for what comes after college. I think that'd be what I'd say.
Yeah, it's probably a good advice to just not have your path quite set. Just keep an open mind, see where it leads you.
So, do you have any upcoming concerts that are in your little bit of a future? I feel like, isn't it next week?
Yes, that's correct. So we have at the university next Tuesday, that's May 4th, we'll have a band concert. That'll be the final concert of the year. And then the band will play again at commencement, and that kind of wraps up my obligations for the year.
Perfect. What time does that start?
So that'll be next Tuesday, May 4th at 7 p.m. in Stickney Auditorium.
Perfect.
Awesome.
We hope to see you there.
Yeah, check it out.
So, Dr. Holder, we ask this everybody who comes on Hawk Talk, but we want to ask you, what does DSU mean to you?
That's a great question. I really enjoy working with all the students at DSU quite a bit, and there's a lot of nice faculty and staff that I've worked with as well. But being able to connect with the students, I think, is the most meaningful part of the experience for me.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Well, Dr. Holder, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Kenzie and I will be right back for the recap right after this. And we're back for the recap. I mean, we didn't have as many things happening this weekend, not as previous weeks, but let's get right into it. So we had baseball. Baseball had played the lesser DSU. They went 2-2 on the weekend. Not really bad games. The very first two games were awesome. The last two games, I think they just got tired, especially after playing a triple header before. So congrats to the baseball team beating the lesser DSU twice, but not so good on the second games. Anyway, then we had softball. Softball went 3-1 on the weekend, also beating the lesser DSU. And then we had Jay Allen with the pitcher of the week for the North Star. So congrats to her.
And DSU baseball, played Jamestown yesterday, so you can check out those results on the DSU Blue Hawks website. And they're headed to Mayville this Friday, so good luck, Hawks. Men's and women's golf, they just had conference, and they really did pretty good overall. There was some individual awards that we didn't really have any information on, so hopefully the DSU Blue Hawks website will release that soon. And the men's team placed 4th out of 6, and the women's placed 3rd out of 6, so pretty good overall.
Yeah.
I mean, really short season, so good job, Hawks. Track and field, we had a meet last Thursday, and we had some good marks, honestly. It was a really small meet. Not a whole lot of competition, but we saw a lot of Hawks get some good marks. We're looking good heading into nationals and in a conference, so it's really exciting. And we are also headed to Moorhead State this Saturday. And Cole Cleveland was track and field athlete of the week for the North Star, so that's exciting.
Congrats to him.
Yeah. It's pretty much all that happened this week. It's a short recap.
Didn't Faith?
Yes, Faith also was a field athlete of the week.
Because she just broke a DSU record, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think she did.
Like a 27-year-long record for the triple jump?
Yes, I think. I don't know how old the record is, but yes, she did break the record, so that's really exciting.
So congrats to her. And we want to thank Pierce Brooks again for coming on. We want to thank Dr. Brian Holder. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you to everybody at Consolidated Channel 18 for putting up with Kenzie and I. Thank you to all the fans. We just want to really thank you all. We want to thank the DSU Heritage Foundation. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at DSU Heritage Fund and our Instagram at DSU Foundation. Once again, thank you very much for everything that you guys have done for us. Couldn't be here without you. But catch us next week. But until then, Hawks are up.